Tim, like a lot of folk will like never ask and they'll just butcher the name.
I mean,
That's not it. Okay.
yeah. All right, well, we'll give it a try. Episode number 32 in New York City Bike Culture with Babalola Ajisafe. No, it's not. That's what I was wanted. That's what I want to say, but that's not what it is. You just told me. Ajisafe.
Yep.
And we can talk about where that name comes from too. But we'll talk about you and where you come from. You've been on the major Taylor development team for like since 2018, I think I looked it up. So long time now. I've done my research.
Yes.
You started out. You've got some Long Island history too. But meaning we're on we both live on Long Island when we're in Brooklyn, but taken further out in Long Island, as New Yorkers always say. So. Tell us a little. He rode his fixed single gear, single speed bike over here, track bike. And you live in Brooklyn right now?
Yes, I do.
You used to live a little further out, like Rockaway, sort of. Yes. Was that still in Queens? Were you
Rockaway
technically outside the city? Yeah, but I wasn't sure if you were like right on. Still Rockaway.
Yeah,
like Rockaway.
In Rockaway. Yeah. But I was literally on the border of Rockaway and Long Island.
That's what I mean.
So the next town over, it was like I could throw a rock and hit Inwood or Lawrence, which is Long Island. So I was right next to the 878, which is the Nassau Expressway. That's the border to Long Island.
Yeah.
So as far out as you could possibly be, but still being technically the city.
Technically the city still. So tell us a little bit, how did you get into bikes? How did you end up there? Tell us a little bit about all of that. Right now, like I said, you're on the major Taylor development team. Have been for a while. You work as a bike mechanic, right?
Not a mechanic. I'm more so of a salesperson, and like I was running a store.
Okay,
so
cool.
Management has really been my thing.
Totally. Okay, so
ride bikes, as we all do love to do. Like to ride bikes fast, slow, in any way, shape, or form. All the bikes, road bike, track bike. I've actually grown to love a lot as of late.
Okay.
And
so you're out there at Casino?
Yeah, I'm going to be more so out in Casino going forward. That's really my
I didn't see a ton of results from you looking at your history there, but you had a couple of good ones I think this past season. So but let's start with like, okay, so you're born and raised in New York City?
Yes, so born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn. I lived in, where did I live? Me and my family, we lived in Linden Plaza for the longest time. So for like the first 10 years of my life, I lived in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We moved out to Far Rockaway, Queens before I was 10, and I've been there ever since. So more than half my life I spent in Far Rockaway, and that's where I technically claim that I really grew up and became an adolescent, like learned who I was. Yeah. So that was more of my time I spent in Rockaway.
Those are the formative years.
Exactly.
Like, you're a teenager and whatnot.
Exactly. So that time I spent also in Rockaway. I lived in New Paltz, New York for about 5 years, and when I went to school, I lived in New Paltz.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, college.
And I moved back home after that in 2013, back to Rockaway. And now, currently, after getting married this past October, thank you, moved back to Brooklyn. So it's like everything's moved full circle.
Okay. Does it feel like that? Does it feel like you come back home, sort of?
It does. It really does. I was mystified, ironically, by the first week I moved back to Brooklyn. I go for a ride in Prospect Park. I get back home after the ride, and I realize I lost my wallet. My wallet slipped out of the back pocket, like the zipper pocket. I didn't close it.
Yeah.
I had already mentally resigned that, like, yo, it's over. It's a dub. Just call the bank, cancel all the cards.
I
go hop in the shower. I was already cool with it. As soon as I'm about to hit the shower, though, like, my phone rings. It's the police. Someone turned in my wallet.
Wow.
This was the third day I moved back to Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I say to myself, are you serious? The wallet's actually there. I go to pick it up, and the money's in there, too. I'm like, this never would have flew in Rockaway. This would have never happened. So I guess it's meant to be. I'm glad to be back in this part of in Brooklyn. So I'm out in Flatlands now.
Yeah.
And so far, so good. I absolutely love it.
Good.
It's been a good change of pace.
Awesome.
Much needed.
And you can ride Prospect Park. You got maybe a little bit, not this time of year, we were joking before about having made our way on the bike, or at least partially on the bike here, and like not needing to go out in sub 40-degree weather. Thank you, by the way, for braving the heat. He's got the heated gloves, which is a clutch move. But
not sponsored,
it's not warm today.
We're working on it. These sealskins right here, for anybody who
What are they called? Sealskins?
Sealskins. They're like ski snowboarding gloves. And I've tried any other non-electric glove, and any combo of it, like 2 gloves, 3 gloves.
Yeah.
And it's not enough. At the hour mark, that's when the cold really starts to set in. It's uncomfortable, and then it becomes unbearable at like hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, I can't do this. This is dangerous for me. And if I'm riding with people, I can't use my brakes. I can't use my gears. My hands are shot.
The
rest of the body's fine, but the hands and feet are done. I invested in these because they are not cheap, but worth every penny. They're like
they got the different, like I see different levels.
Different setting, basic setting, but I got them last year, and I tested them out. I actually raced with these for the first time. I did the Frozen 4 crit in Connecticut. Yo, these shits were on fire. I was like, win, just absolute and utter win. I was
as we're like thinking about starting to see like race dates popping up, Ranch Brook CRC, hopefully all in March and April. Like you're going to be wearing those.
Yeah.
If you're racing,
anything coming in before May is these. Like March, April, I raced in these exclusively, and it made everything so much easier. So much more bearable. I was so thankful to get them.
We started late last year, so
we did. Out here.
Frozen 4 was reasonably early still, right?
Yeah, that was already
was that March already?
It was March.
Yeah, okay.
So that race, I'd never heard about it till last year. I started searching for races because we all were hungry to go race.
I think it might have been new anyway, though. But
I heard that it was it'd been running for a number of years prior, but it never got the turnout that it got till last year.
Yeah,
because everybody on the East Coast, like at least New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, there were no races anywhere besides them. So they all flocked to it, and it was selling out. Like nobody's business, especially in the lower divisions. There were so many new people to the sport. Cat 5s were like,
which is great.
And this year, I think they made 2 Cat 5 fields because of the interest.
Let's hope that the numbers stay up there, because they're gonna have a little bit more competition, I think, again this year.
Absolutely, but like. It was a great course, great run event. I was very happy with it. I performed pretty well there, and I had a blast, just minus the cold. It was legitimately frozen, so it was named appropriately.
I mean, we've had that, right? Race cancellations or races under very harsh circumstances in March here for sure. Like, I feel like New York is always like deceptively warm until like December, and then like you get to like the holidays, Christmas, New Year. And January, all of a sudden, it becomes like unrideable. It's like
temperature straight nosedives.
I don't know. January, February are pretty brutal. I mean, there's always worse. Like my wife's from Alaska and all that. I get it. Like, but you don't want to be riding a bike outside, unless you're like with your gloves, with all the gear, maybe on a fat bike in the snow, But
even if that, for short periods of time, that's not an extended venture to be out and about. You're not doing a century.
And there's some people who do it, and I get it. Like, it's nice to be out, but if it comes like with all the finger and toe pain, and I know I get it. There's like heated everything now, and you could make it happen if you really wanted to. But we have indoor trainers are pretty efficient equivalent, like alternative.
Studies have been done. I haven't read them directly, but I listen a lot to the Trainer Road podcast, and they have extensively stated and linked it to actual research being done that one's core temperature is ideally kept at a certain level. Going out to venture in the cold is actually detrimental to the training as well as one's health. That's it for me. Like I heard it.
You're like, I'm convinced.
There's science that backs it. I'm good.
Good. So we'll come back to Trainer Road probably because I know you're a devotee. You're training with that system or that software or service, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
But how do you get into bikes? Like, were you somebody who always like got a bike as a kid and always kind of liked it and eventually got into it, or was there like a moment, or how did it happen?
So, like I guess many others, ride a bike my whole life. My dad taught me how to ride bikes. My first memory even was when we were living in Brooklyn. Me, my dad, my brothers would go out to the Canarsie Pier and ride the bike path there.
Yeah.
So that's where we
learned
to
ride
bikes.
There's still people who it's pretty narrow, right? So you go more like on a kind of recreational pace or like easy
now,
pace.
We didn't do the whole thing, but like at that time I was like probably 5, 6, 7, 8, and we moved out by 10. So yeah, it was definitely around that age range of somewhere like 5 years old to 9 years old. I was riding out there during the summertime. We'd go out every other week. Me, my dad, my brothers. And
So that was really quick to access from there where you guys were in East New York? Or,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was really close by. We'd hop in the car, we'd throw our bikes in there, and we'd go riding. And like, it was just fun. Just like hanging out with the family, riding bikes.
Awesome.
So we got a little
So that was
older.
you, your dad, your brothers?
Yeah, me, my dad, and my brothers. Go out and ride. That's where I fell in love with bikes, I guess, to an extent. But it was only means for transportation.
Well, I'm envisioning you guys like this. So this was what the 2000s and 90s. Like you're on like a mountain bike sort of type of deal, or what?
Good old Huffy mountain bike.
Yeah. That's what I figured. That's what I figured. Thank you.
So I definitely had me a
You can have some of that too if you want.
Oh, thanks. Huffy mountain bike was what I was riding. I think we all did. We all had like Huffy mountain bikes. That was it.
Yeah, I mean,
we had like 3 of them.
If you have three, how many brothers do you have?
I have 2. I have a pair of twin brothers.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
There was 3 boys.
Yeah, if you have 3 boys and you want to get them bikes,
we had 3
right?
bikes.
I mean, you're not gonna go for the fanciest bike in town, right?
No.
So you just keep it.
We made it work,
yeah.
And it was a great time. Then when we moved out to Rockaway, I was 10 years old. I wasn't really riding the bike as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was really trying at the time.
Was it harder out of Rockaway? Oh, okay, you were in other sports.
I was trying to get into other sports. I love sports in general.
Yeah.
Like, I see myself as an athlete first, because my first sport, like organized sport that I really played, was not conventional. I tried basketball, was never any good at it. Loved football, tried football. Man, these dudes broke my heart. I went out to try out to join the local team, the Far Rockaway Ravens. And they literally said I was a health liability because I was so small, and I actually was at the time.
Oh, you were relative to it was an age.
Yeah, I was really short, small, and underweight, so I wasn't allowed to play.
Wow! So they just straight up said you're too small.
Legitimately said that to me.
Wow!
Broke my heart. I was like, I love football. I wanted to play, and they were like, "Listen, I'm just gonna be brutally honest. You're gonna get hurt. You're too small, you're too short, and you're legit." Like, and he was not wrong, but the way he delivered it to me at that point in time, I was like, oh, well, damn.
How old were you? Like
9.
Wow,
that was when we first moved to Rockaway. I wanted to do something else. I wanted to get into sports.
Yeah.
So 9, 10, I love football, but could never play. So what did I get into? That's when I discovered handball when I got to high school.
Oh.
So handball was my first sport and my favorite sport to this day, even more so than cycling.
It's
even though I don't
big
play
in New York City. Like, there's a lot of people play it. Let's put it that way.
Huge.
I don't know the scene at all, really. Right? For me, it's like this a sport I don't have any close connections to. It's obviously not like a big like televised sport or anything, right? But there's quite a few people playing it in New York City, and you see the courts around, right? I mean, in almost, maybe not almost every park, but a lot of parks have the little court set up. So
there are more handball courts in New York City alone than there are on the planet Earth.
Oh, really? So that's that. I'm not wrong about it being a lot.
This is legit. Like, it's not the birthplace of the sport, but it's kind of the mecca of one wall handball, at least, that you see in every park. This is the mecca of that. Did a report on it in college. One of my best papers I ever wrote because I was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
So handball was definitely the sport that gave me a sense of belonging. And it's ironic because I was so terrible at it. I was garbage, like trash, like really, really bad to start at. And I just I was amazed at how you could do this. With both hands, it's a full body sport.
Yeah.
And when I really got into it and started to go in competing, I played at the junior national level and national level for years. I made it to the pro level. And the reason I stopped was because of concurrent chronic injuries.
Oh.
So I was constantly getting injured. I had
talking ankle kind of stuff?
Ankle, knees, lower back.
Yeah.
And it was really the culmination of me playing handball. And when I got to college, I started playing racquetball also. And I was doing both in the same season and still growing. I realized in hindsight, I wasn't giving myself any kind of rest. I was literally beating my body to shreds for a good almost a decade. And it was really annoying that coming up to the big competition, say nationals, One Wall Nationals is held in Coney Island every year, West 4th and Surf. I'm getting ready for it. I'm doing well. Like the week before, twisted ankle, sprained ankle, hurt wrist, lower back pulled, like, and I'm like 18, 19, 20 to like 26. I'm like, this is just like killing me.
Yeah.
I love the sport. I play well, but when it comes time for me to actually perform at like a signature event, injured. Every time.
That's frustrating. Yeah. So you played that a long time, 10 years. Like teenage years, that was your love and that was your sport.
That was it. I got into racquetball and I was doing the both.
Well, so I was going to say, like, for those outside of your city, maybe, or New York City, handball is like, there's a European sport that's also called handball, something completely different, but handball here is, it's sort of like racquetball or squash, as they call it, and also more in Europe, like, but without a racket, right? So you use your hand to play a ball against the wall, and the goal is sort of that, I think it has to touch the ground twice, right, for you to score a point, or how does it work?
So the object of the game is similar to tennis. You want to smack the ball against the wall, and your opponent has the opportunity to get it back before the ball bounces twice.
Right.
You can only score a point on your serve. So there's no rally scoring like in badminton or soccer or tennis, where there's rally scoring. Like every point, or every rally, there's a point scored. You can only score when you are serving. So you can get up to serve, you win that rally, you earn a point. Your opponent wins that rally, they then have the opportunity to then serve and then score a point.
Right.
So the games would go on for quite some time. At the national level, you're playing matches, best of 3.
Okay.
Which is to 21 with the tiebreaker to 11.
So that's intense, and so you're really like hustling all the time. It's super high intensity sport, right?
Yeah. That's another endurance sport
here, but it's endurance, but it's super like what we call like hit or now all the time, right? You're like sprinting left, right, and like a lot of lateral movement, a lot of power, upper body probably too, and like you said, back issues probably because you're reaching low and you try to get to the ball.
Absolutely.
It's an intense sport. If you see those big concrete walls in parks in New York City and you're asking yourself what they're for, that's handball. And I think it's really seen as a niche sport, but like I said, I see a lot of people very serious and passionate, good at it, like passionate about it in New York City. Obviously it's more of a summer sport, but even in colder temperatures I sometimes see people practicing and I'm like, wow, you guys are dedicated.
People outside all year round. Like they will show up to Coney Island with
so where's that Coney Island? There's a big court there or something like that? Or always
West 4th in Surf Ave, right next to the aquarium.
Oh.
Those courts right there, that's hollowed ground.
I run by there like once a week.
That is hollowed ground for handball.
Yeah.
Like
so
best players
between sort of the aquarium and the roller coaster?
On the opposite side.
Oh, toward okay.
The other way. Towards like this, like it's in between the aquarium and there's a restaurant. So in between that big gap is like 12 handball courts.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
So those courts right there, it's like where the best players on like the planet show up to like show their stuff. If you think you're something at One Wall Handball, you show up there and then you get got.
Okay, yeah.
You'll get got. Like the amount of money that has changed hands over there. Is insane.
There's
big gambling in
there's a bigger gambling going on there too. Yeah. Is it other people put money on players, or is it also the players saying like, hey, if you win this game, $50 or whatever, or $20 or
like just to start? Some days, like weekends, you can't get on a court unless you're putting down $5 to play. Period.
Okay.
So that also forced you to get a whole lot better because it won't cost you if you don't. But,
so
I enjoyed it.
You did, and I could still see the enjoyment right now, but that's past right now.
Correct.
And so you're in your mid-20s, 26, I think you said, or something like that, and
that was when I started. Well, that's when I stopped and I started focusing more so to cycling. And
so how did that come about? Yeah.
I wanted to do something else. Like I'm an athlete at heart, and I needed to do something else to keep me active and fit. And it was completely by accident that I rolled into the first shop I started working at in Long Island. It was in Woodmere, South Shore Bicycle.
Yep.
I rolled in there to get my bike fixed, to get a tune-up done on it. It was an old Lamborghini Rapido. that I treated as if it were an actual Lamborghini. So I thought.
With that name, right?
And it was monstrously too small for me. And I rode that thing hard for like 3 years. A good friend of mine gave it to me. But when he moved back to Korea, I met him up in New Paltz. He's the one who taught me actually how to play racquetball. He used that bike to commute, graduated, moved back to Korea, gave me the bike.
This is like college campus bike, kind of
exactly.
like around New Paltz.
For me to get around New Paltz, I rode the bike all the time,
Awesome.
always.
Yeah.
So that also got me pretty fit. I didn't realize it's really hilly up there.
Yeah, so New Paltz,
there's
like
no flat. It's literally just like hills, descents, more hills.
Yeah.
And I was doing that every day. Then when I moved back, go to get that bike repaired at that local bike shop, walk in, and these dudes clown me so hard. No mercy. I knew not a thing about road bikes, like not a thing whatsoever. I'm like, yo, a bike is a bike. It's got two wheels, you pedal it, the shit goes.
Yeah.
But they were like, dude, you're doing this wrong. And the amount that you're about to put into trying to rectify it to get you a whole new bike. And it's too small for you. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, you're 6 foot. And the thing was like a 52. I don't know how I was rocking that thing at all. I made it work.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but they clowned me. They fixed it, but clowned me. I was like, let's get you a real bike.
So they were like it's not worth fixing up. Like,
it's not.
Yeah.
But they did it anyway because I was out of it. Like I needed something to get me around. So they fixed it up. It needed a new bar tape, chain, some other ish. And there was a help wanted sign in the front window.
Okay.
And this was, I just moved back from New Paltz to Rockaway, and that shop was like 5 minutes from me. It was 3 miles away, more like 10, 15. And I asked the owner who happened to be in there, I was like, so I see that help wanted sign. It's good. Like, when can you start? I said Monday. It's like, all right, come back Monday.
Okay.
And literally like that.
That you had, yeah.
Sure. Didn't ask me a word, no resume, no nothing. Just was like, yo, show up. Oh no, he asked if I could drive, which I could.
Okay.
I had my license at that time. And boy, that was interesting.
You got a good education there?
Oh, and then some. I was 19.
Okay. So you were still in college. You were home for summer?
No, was I 19? No, I was, how old was I? I was 20. 21.
Okay.
I wasn't 19. 19 was when I started driving. But I had just got my license, moved back home, started working there, and mainly I was supposed to be driving between the two locations. That's why he asked I could drive. So they had another location in Valley Stream at the time. So Woodmere and Valley Stream, and I was schlepping product, bikes and whatnot in between stores.
One was the storage one more, and then
exactly.
The other one, yeah.
So yeah, the vehicle they had me driving was not even a vehicle at all. That shit was a fucking death trap, to say the absolute least.
So
I survived that summer.
Some sort of van, right?
Yeah. But I got through it, and they actually hooked me up.
Okay.
He looked out for me with my first road bike. Getting in there, I wanted to continue to ride, and they made it very apparent that I was on the wrong bike to start. And one day, a customer comes in returning a Giant Defy, and it was in my size.
Yeah.
At that time, I had already asked the owner, was like, yo, I want to get this bike, which was a Giant TCR. An alloy of Giant TCR was what I wanted. He said he'd order it. He never did. But this bike comes in, the Giant Defy gets returned. It's like, yo, take this bike for the weekend, have it, see how you like it. I was only working there for like 2 months at the time.
Oh wow, okay.
And he was like, just gave me like a $3,000 bike, just cause.
Yeah.
Knows where I live, but like, you don't know nothing about me. I could have easily said, yo, deuces, I'm out. But dude trusted me, gave me a really valuable bike, and I was hooked. The bike happened to fit me, and I was like, this is what it means to have an actual bike that fits you. Full carbon, like the first road bike ever was a full carbon Ultegra bike. What's it, 10 speed? It was 10 speed. Full 10 speed, 10 speed. I love Ultegra. I was hooked. I was like, yo, I need that. I'm gonna take it. So I had worked that previous that year. I had worked catering gig for Passover. So I worked for like 2 weeks straight, had a nice chunk of change saved up, and I bought my first bike.
Nice.
Bike, shoes, helmet,
The whole,
two
so
kids,
all
the
of that
whole,
too.
I went all in.
Yeah.
And for like $3,000.
Which is a big expense always. So
Big expense. I decided it's like I can either get a car or get a bike. Where the car, I wouldn't have been able to afford to keep it at that time.
Yeah. You got insurance, you got gas,
No way.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
No way. I was not kicking it like that.
Yeah.
But I got the bike because I felt it was more practical. I'm working with it, and it's getting me from where I live to where I need to be at work and everywhere else around, and I can afford it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Awesome.
But when I got home, I told my dad how much I spent on the bike. Man did not even talk to me for like a good month, almost a month. My pop did not talk to me because he had no understanding or frame of reference for what the bike was.
Yeah.
You buy a bicycle? A bike? Not a car. My man is tired.
That was not the right step in the right direction for him, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never forget how furious he was.
Did you understand, or were you like just like kind of defiant, or like, no, this is the right way, or like,
I was like,
were you arguing with him, or?
I didn't argue. I was like, it was literally my money, and I'd asked him for help on getting a car, and he never paid me any mind. Thought I was joking. I'm like,
Okay, so yeah.
But he was right though. Also, because I couldn't afford to keep the car.
Yeah.
So the bike was the right idea. He was just rather upset that he had no say in it. But I'm like, it's for me to get around, bro. Let me do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he got over it eventually.
Okay.
And I've been riding ever since.
Yeah. So and you worked there for quite a while, right? At South Shore.
Only during the summers.
Only during the summers.
So like
okay.
2 or 3 summers I worked at South Shore.
Okay, so that was like your gig while you were in college, sort of.
Correct.
Yeah, and then you're done with college. You come back, and then what's so? I'm assuming you're still riding college. You're riding the new. Did you take the bike to college with you then again, or
No? So 2013 when I moved back and I was working at South Shore, I was done with college.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
yeah.
I was here locally, working odd jobs all over.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of catering.
Mm-hmm.
I also work I'm a musician, so I do a lot of gigs, especially in the summer when it was wedding season pre-COVID. That was my prime time. Summers where it's like main time to make as much money as I possibly
You play an
could.
instrument?
Yeah, so I play percussion. Congas most especially are like my shit.
Okay.
I've been playing since I was 5 years old. Absolutely love it.
Oh, that's another passion then.
Yeah, I'm rather eclectic. I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So it's music, bikes, athletics in general, and yeah, that's pretty much me. A little bit of everything.
So like a little bit of everything. Work a bike shop, got your first bike. And all of that is still pretty. That doesn't mean you're going to start bike racing, right? There's still a bit of a transition there somewhere. I'm assuming where you're like, look, I'm riding with some groups now, or how do you, I mean, you like you said, you're an athletic person, you're really into anything kind of sports and all that. But where does the point become where you're, okay, I have a bike I can go fast with, that's a nice bike, like you said, that was a really good bike at the time, right? But that's still a big step from having worked in a shop for 2 months, just got laughed at kind of for the bike that was too small and not worth fixing up, which I think a lot of people can relate to that experience. Like you go in a bike shop and they kind of give you a little bit of crap or tell you like, look, yeah, somebody has not been taking care of that bike, probably better to buy a new one, right? So,
right.
But you're sort of new to it. Where's that trajectory from now where you've been bike racing? Well, you started bike racing like 2016, 17, 16, I think I saw some of the results already.
I want to say it was the end of 2014 or 15 when I did my first race.
Yeah.
So I started riding with groups.
Mm-hmm.
I got the bike in 2013. And I started riding with, excuse me. And he's gone.
Hopefully he comes back. Little dog on the run here.
Yeah, he got spooked.
Ooh.
Don't go in the. Ooh.
Buddy. Okay,
All right.
dog's still doing all right. Dog's still doing all right, but I think
He got
have to
spooked
chase
at
him
the
a little
going-
bit. Yeah, he got
blocked.
spooked.
But so when I was at South Shore, they had a shop team, and everyone there rode together on the LIE service road on the weekends.
Yeah.
I started
So
going out to those
that's a
group
thing,
rides.
right?
Yeah.
On Long Island, you go out on the service road to the expressway, which is like this really weird, super wide road that's like, what, 3-4 lanes or something like that? But it's a service road. It's like parallel to the Long Island Expressway, and it's pretty. I see a lot of different. I don't know if it's all the different groups, but I know there are lots of people who ride out there in groups. A lot of them.
Two main groups that are out there that ride, and they start from the same location but do alternate routes, but all along the LIE,
Yeah.
and then they start going north once they pass Sayasi.
Yeah.
So the group that I started with, the shop team, rode a lot with the MCC,
Okay.
multi-club cyclists. I rode with them until I rode away from them. Like I rode with them until like I wasn't gaining anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first ride, I got dropped.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this shit ain't never happening again. Fucking demoralizing. Thankfully,
Yeah.
my friend who was a little stronger than me at the time, he hung back. Like he knew the route. I didn't know how to use my computer. I had everything, but didn't know how to use it yet. I was still relatively new. So it got dropped, and I was like, okay, I need to get a little stronger. I got to ride some more. Just rode with them every week, consistently. Like going out, making sure not to get dropped. That was the only thing on my mind, was just not getting dropped from this group ride. Eventually, I'm not getting dropped anymore. I'm at the front of the ride, pulling the ride, and then going too fast for the ride.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo,
So now
take it
people
easy.
are like, take it easy. Yeah.
But I want to go.
Yeah.
That's when I realized
Time.
it's not for me.
Yeah.
So started finding other groups and different people and places to ride with.
So how long did that process take from, because I think a lot of people can relate to that too. They find a group ride. Group rides are not so big in New York City. There's a few on Long Island. There's a couple, like if you go north there's one, if you go west there's like the Rocket Ride, but they're not a big thing here versus like, I lived in Arizona for a while, and that's like it's a huge thing there. It's like world championships every weekend, you know. And
Wow.
And here it's a little more chill about it. It's usually more not the fastest groups that do the group rides, right? But how long did that take from like first going there first time, getting dropped, to like kind of getting called out for being too fast and realizing you're too fast? You gotta move
I would
on.
say that was probably about 2 years.
Okay.
So
Wow.
2013 I started. I trained. I didn't have a trainer then, but I rode as much as I possibly could outdoors. Into 2014, I was like, all right, I want to, closer to the end of the season, I was like, I want to try my legs at racing. But I was so timid
Yeah.
and rather discouraged because that year was riddled with crashes. Like every other week,
In the local racing scene, or yeah.
like the guys that were at the shop that were on the shop team were always crashing.
Yeah.
Or I'm hearing about crashes.
Yeah.
So I was a little skeptical about, do I really want to get into this to get hurt and shit? But I eventually went out to a race. First race I went to go watch was at Prospect Park. Rode out there, watched the race. And of course, in that race, at the finish, literally at the line, the shit's over. Crash in the 5 field. I'm like, what the fuck?
So is this still the old race finish where there were used to be more crashes, or
No, it's the finish that they're at now. The current one.
Because I haven't seen.
That had to be at like 2015.
Yeah, okay.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
That's when I saw Major Taylor. He was in. All right, what's his name? Daryl.
Yeah.
Darrell Mead doesn't ride anymore. He used to race with the team. Really big guy.
Yeah.
He goes by the nickname D Train. Shout out Daryl. I was cool with him. I don't remember how we got introduced, but I added him. I think it was on Strava. I'd seen him riding around and had him on Strava, and I saw him in the race. He crashed at the end of that race that I went to go watch, to say that I'm like, all right, I want to go do this. Let me go see what a race actually looks like. He crashes and breaks his collarbone in his left arm. I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I literally watched him go over the bars and another bike go into his back.
Yeah.
And while I'm contemplating possibly doing this thing, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh nah, I'm out. You good?
Yeah.
Y'all can hold that.
Yeah.
So I got scared.
Because those are the moments, right? Like if he crashes, then you're like less likely to join. If he like pulls up and wins the race, then you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that, right?
Bike was totaled, arms totaled, collarbone done. Like his season was over. So that scared me off. But it was still in me. The bug had already bit me.
Yeah.
And at the end of that year, they had, and that was the last time they did it, the turkey race, the CRCA's turkey race.
Yeah.
I did it that season. I think that was 2014. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that year that I did it was the last year they've held it. That turkey race.
Yeah.
That was before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They gave out turkeys as the prize.
It was November. Yeah, it was cold.
And like every other race, there was a crash in there too. First race that I participated in, another crash. Thankfully, I didn't get caught up in it, but I saw this dude that I used to ride a bit with, I liked a lot, Edison Marulanda.
Oh yeah,
really
he's still
strong.
Yeah.
Really strong dude. When I first started riding, I rode around a lot with him. He would come out to the MCC rides every once in a while, and when I did venture out to ride in Brooklyn, I'd ride with him and his friend. Oh my God, I can't remember his name, but these two were like peas in a pod, and they would always ride and race together.
Edison was on E2 Valley, I think, still? Or
he is now.
It was?
No, Verge. It was Verge Sport. Bicycle Habitat.
That's
last time I checked.
Right.
But he crashed in the first race I was in, like almost right in front of me. He got hurt pretty bad, and I was like, oh God, this racing thing is really serious.
Yeah.
But I was hooked. I was like, okay, I finished. I got dropped, but I guess this is something doable.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to keep doing it.
Right.
So I'm very process oriented. I was like that when I was with handball. I was terrible at the beginning, absolutely horrible. But I was like, I know what it takes to get better, and I know what better looks like, and it's pretty awesome. So let me just keep pushing at it, and I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Central Park's not the easiest race to start with. Like there's an elevation, again for here, it's not. I'm not talking big mountains, but it adds up. Like there's enough of these little punchy hills that it hurts. Like no matter what field you're in. So that's your first race. And since then, you've put in a lot of racing. I mean, a good amount, right? Mostly local, I think. Which why not? Because there's a ton of awesome races here. And you had, I think, you had a pretty busy last season too. You're on the Major Taylor team. I'm assuming you joined them at some point in this process, then, or how did that happen? As you were getting more serious, or?
Mm-hmm. So I was with South Shore for like 2 years, going into the third year.
So they had a little club team or something like that?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So South Shore, it was like, they branched away from the name South Shore and it became Babalola Racing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was
the
main guy who ran it.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to him.
They're still around, right? Yeah.
Still around. But they raced more as a club. They didn't necessarily race as a team.
Okay.
And when I got into handball, and I was like, I loved the idea of a team sport. Mm-hmm. Like, it made sense. And when I started really getting into racing, I was like deep on the web, on YouTube, watching races, watching everything. Like, I'm just like soaking it all in. I'm like, we should be actually working together. This is a team sport, right? And if there are multiple of us in a race on said team, should be working for a goal, a communal goal, that one of us should be doing something pretty decent.
Yeah.
It made no sense to me. We're showing up to Floyd Bennett Field with 5 guys in the same kit, and we're all scattered all over the place, and everybody's just doing their own thing. I brought this up to them, and they were like, no, it's okay. But what did it for me, where I said I had to cut ties with the squad, was when the merit crit.
Yeah.
One guy that was on the team at the time did something that to me was unspeakable. It made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
He was upset that this guy Gianni Ansano, who doesn't race anymore, really strong guy. He's big into Pilates now and yoga and all this other stuff. But he was riding smart. He was riding tactically.
Yeah.
He was in the race by himself, riding on the front, and he was inciting and then slowing down. Inciting a surge and then slowing down. For some reason, this guy Chucky doesn't like that. Goes up next to him, thinks he's Spanish because he looks like he is, but he's not. He's Sicilian. He starts yelling at him in Spanish, and he's like, yo, I don't know what you're saying. And he rides away from him.
Yeah.
Chucky proceeds to chase him down, continuing yelling at him. In the race, takes out his water bottle and throws it at him. At the beginning, at the front of the field. Throws his bottle at this kid. I'm like, and he's in the same kid as me. I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And the reason that it really pissed me off is, at that time, we had, what's his name? This not so young anymore. At the time, DJ Toback, who rides all the Brad Square team, he was 12. He was 12. Little ass kid in the peloton. Exactly. You're setting such a horrible example for this young kid who was doing massive work. Like, they let DJ freaking toe the field up. And I was like, I went up next to him like, yo, great work. And I literally shouted at everybody in the peloton. I was like, you guys should be ashamed of yourself. You guys are more than twice this kid's age, and he's pulling y'all around like y'all ain't shit. Because y'all ain't shit. I talked to the team manager after that race, like, yo, I can't be associated with this dude. He's got to be off the team. Like, now, today. You don't do that. He's a grown-ass man. He was old enough to be my father. Behaving like a child, worse than a child. We didn't see eye to eye on that. I was like, all right, let me find another squad that, like, gets what a race team is supposed to be like and knows how to behave and actually reprimands folks for doing dumb shit. And I just started thinking, who was around? Major Taylor I happened to see at that time, all the time, in mass, and with people that look like me also. Because being honest, at that time when I started, 2013, 2014, there weren't many black guys like riding around in the races.
Long Island, I would imagine.
No, there weren't many like at all. So I saw people that looked like me. I was like, all right, cool. Let me approach him. And what was the icing on the cake for me joining Major Taylor? One of my friends from high school, who I used to play handball with, was on the team at the time. So I was like, oh shit, Aaron Temple, shout out to you. Aaron, you ride bikes? Yo, what's good? You race? All right, what's up? You want handball? You got singles? What's up? Like, like it was always like some banter going on. So he puts me in contact with the management team at the time. It was Daryl, Tucker, and Patrick Marozio. You start emailing back and forth. They see like what my interest is in cycling. They do their research on me, see if I'm committed to riding.
They're pretty thorough, like vetting people. They're kind of like
very much so. Like, and I went out with a group ride with them. They invited me out to sometime in like early November, and I was like, all right. Welcome to the squad. They saw that I'd done a ton of racing. Like, I was very into racing. So they saw I was dedicated. I was doing it by myself. And to this day, that the vetting process for joining the team is, we want to see that you're committed to racing already. Those who are going to race will race.
We don't have to convince you, sort of.
Exactly. We're not, like, this isn't a job. Like, we're not going to chase you. We're not going to do anything. But if you want to race, and you want to race with others like-minded, come through. We're here for it. And our current model for walking these groups, we want to see that you've done already at least 5 races by yourself, and to know that you're committed to actually racing.
Awesome.
So I joined them that year, and it's been smooth sailing for me ever since, because I've done nothing but grow. I've done nothing but grow. The team has gone under a bunch of changes. Most recently, we finally changed our kit this past season.
So not this, because this is
our new kit.
This is a new kit. Okay.
So the old kit was a full black, red, and white.
Or something.
Exactly. It was white and gray and red across the chest, but the rest of it was black. And we were known for like that kit. And there were a lot of old members of the team rocking that kit. So not everyone knew who who was on the team.
Yeah.
A lot of people had, you know, life happens, moved away,
right.
left the team.
But it still looks like they're
still
on the
rocking
team.
the kit.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be able to branch out and differentiate ourselves from those who are no longer on the team. So we need something fresh, something new. So we designed this kit last season, and it's gotten nothing but like great reviews. Like the past year, I absolutely love it. And as not just the kit, we really worked on restructuring the team. So a lot of former team members have left for their own reasons, and we've got a lot of new blood who are very interested in racing.
Awesome.
And we've got a really good plan for growing the program we've got going this year.
Let's talk some more about that, but I'm gonna change the battery real quick. And then we'll continue. You can eat the sausage.